Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here for this special edition of our Chai Chat. Apologies for the delay, the slight delay. We had a couple of technical difficulties, but again, thank you so much for joining us. We're live from the American Center Tashkent, or ACT as we like to call it, and we also are streaming live, which we haven't done for a few years, have both in-person and streaming on the U.S. Embassy and the ACT Facebook pages, as well as the ACT YouTube channel. I'm Sarah Talalay. I'm the Cultural Affairs Officer here at the Embassy, and I oversee the ACT and our other American spaces. We now have 2 American corners, one in Karshi and one in Namangan. This is a place where you can learn about the United States, you can get resources, you can learn about study in the United States, further opportunities in the United States, as well as enjoy some American culture. You are in for a treat today. We are joined by the great American jazz band, Ginetta's Vendetta. Thank you so much for being here. And some of you may have seen them perform live last night at the opening of the 6th International Jazz Festival here in Tashkent. You can still watch them live, or well, not live, but the recording of the performance last night on our Facebook page. Yeah, it's really fun. It's really great. And they will also be performing tomorrow night in Hiva at Ichan Kala. If you're out that way, it is a free concert. Please join. This afternoon, we are going to hear a little from the band, a little bit of performing. Unfortunately, one of our band members, Belden, his instrument, which is this amazing 3/4 bass, which is very unusual, apparently is unique here in Uzbekistan. And so his instrument is on its way to Hiva right now, as we speak, I think. So wish it a safe journey.
Not so unique in New York.
Right. So they're going to share a little bit of one of America's greatest exports, jazz, and answer some of your questions. So first, I want to allow, because you don't need to hear from me, I want to allow each band member to introduce themselves and say what instrument they play and where they're from in the United States. Okay. Let's start with Ginetta.
Thank you, Sarah. First of all, I want to tell you that the reason for the technical delay was because I went into the room and locked it by accident. Sorry, guys. We are so happy to be here. My name is Ginetta, pocket trumpeter, vocalist, and band leader with these amazing compatriots of Ginetta's Vendetta. And this is a unique opportunity for us, our third working with the ambassador, United States ambassadorship program. So we are jazz ambassadors, literally and figuratively. And so we're really happy to be able to share this unique and indigenous musical form, which lives all over the world, but was created in our country, America. So my name is Ginetta, and I am playing the pocket trumpet, which is a very special kind of trumpet, the same amount of tubing, but a little smaller. So much more power packed into a tiny little, much like the band leader. Okay, guys, go ahead, Nikki.
My name's Nick Schugel, and I was born in the Bronx, New York, and I live in the state of New Jersey, which is in kilometers, like maybe 40 kilometers west of New York City. And I play the drums. This is not a drum. This is a practice pad I bring with me to practice because it's very quiet. But in this situation, it seems to be fine, so I just brought it along. And I guess that's about it. I'm a teacher as well in America. I teach at a private school, which is an all-girls school that is a college prep school. Most of them go to the main universities like Harvard, Yale, Cornell. Almost all of them go there, and I've been there for about 20, 30 years. I don't even know. I've been there a long time. Thank you.
I didn't know that, and I forgot to say I live in New York City.
Wow.
Thank you, Nick. Who knew that? What you teach music, Nick?
I teach music.
He teaches music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nick teaches
Who
music.
knew it was all college girls.
That sounds a little dangerous. He left that out. He left that
Yeah,
out.
it just
Yeah.
came out now.
Just came out now, man. We didn't know that, guys. Okay.
All right, my name is Belvin Bullock, and I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, which is in the northeast corner of the United States. And now I reside in New Jersey as well. I'm the bassist with the band. I play the upright bass, which is missing right now, which is, as you know, is a very big instrument. But yeah, that's it. That's me.
My name is Ilya Lushtak, and I live in New York City as well. I was born in Russia, actually, but I've been in the United States since like 1978. But I moved to New York from San Francisco, where I grew up. I moved to New York in '95, and yeah, I live in New York City, uptown, Harlem. Yeah, there you go.
Wonderful. Thank you.
May I also say that each of these men are dads, they are fathers, and they all have beautiful children that they are sort of inducting into musical life as well.
And we
So
have
there's
wives too.
yeah, well, I
Like
forgot about
3
that.
married men in one
Three?
band. That's crazy.
Isn't that amazing?
We're the only band.
They're all married happily and for a long time. How many years? Almost 40?
We started dating almost 40 years ago.
40. Him
20.
20. And how long, Belden?
I forgot.
Uh-oh. I hope his wife is not watching.
Remember your anniversary date?
Yeah, thank
Yes, I
you,
do.
Sarah.
It's
Thank you.
coming up real soon.
Very
May-
important.
May
Okay,
17th.
May 14th.
No, 23.
23 years, so that is almost unprecedented
For
in a
jazz
world.
band.
Yeah, for a jazz. Me, I am not married, no, so, but that's okay, man. That's why I use married men, it's a lot
None of us
easier.
have children.
Yeah, there's no shenanigans on the road, you know what I'm saying? No shenanigans. Although I always say, what happens in the Vendetta stays in the Vendetta. But that doesn't mean anything bad, just ridiculous
Yes,
things
and-
like
and
taxi
yeah.
adventures and all kind of, adventures on the road, which are really
Ginetta,
uniquely
You're
exciting.
not in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
Okay.
All right, guys, so we're ready to roll. Exactly.
And how long? have you
They
been
might
married?
not know the
20.
saying,
Yeah.
20 years. In America, there's a saying, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah, I've heard that.
That's right. So that's why I say what happens in the Vendetta stays in the Vendetta, but nothing bad, just ridiculous. Like I say, if someone imbibes a little too much alcohol, we kind of keep it on the.
We haven't had that.
This
in-
is
We haven't had that here.
Improvisational.
We haven't nowadays.
This
Jazz
trip, no,
doesn't even
we don't even do
can't
that
afford
anymore.
that.
No. We can't, and on this trip, you cannot afford to not be right on point. We have what you call lobby calls, which means all the musicians have to meet in the lobby promptly. So punctuality is really one of the hallmarks of tours, of any tour, because guys had been left in the lobby when they missed their lobby call for the plane, and sorry brother, now it is on you to get yourself to the next gig. So lobby calls are distinctly and urgently important. Punctuality, very important hallmark of a professional musician. Punctuality.
We
Or
knew
the
this would be
reservation.
educational.
Yeah, this
So
is educational as
I
well.
do want you to have a little opportunity to perform, but could we just start with a very basic question for each of you? How and when did you decide you wanted to be a musician?
Okay, well,
I'll go. Yeah,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
can answer
you
that
go
clearly.
first, Ilya.
I think I was pretty young. I was, misled by the media to think that my ego was going to be gratified my whole life if I became a musician. As the years went on, I found out, it's quite the opposite, actually. To be a musician, a full-time working musician, you really have to be able to put your ego aside and really focus on the music and focus on what you're giving to the audiences. But that, for me, I would say the decision came pretty early on. It was like junior high, I would say. I figured some type of way.
I started playing at the end of third grade. Mr. Cirasillo, our music teacher, came around and said, "What do you want to play?" And I initially said trombone, believe it or not. And I'm not even partial to trombone now. You know what he said? "Your little arms are too short." My arms are too short. So I said, okay, I'll pick trumpet. And that's, I remember the guy behind me laughed, and who's laughing now, honey? Okay. He's probably pumping gas. No, there's nothing wrong with pumping gas, but you know what I'm saying?
He's not in Uzbekistan.
That's
Seeing the world.
That's right. He's not seeing the road. Go ahead, Nick. Oh, I'm sorry, Belden.
That's right.
I got a drum set well, my brother was an amateur drummer, and my other brother is a guitarist, and my mother sang. None of them professionally, but I got a drum set at 10, and immediately got frustrated and broke all the heads.
Wow.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Oh, my
And then it was about
goodness.
13 years old. I had it repaired, and started to play. And then I guess it must have been and then I was serious about music since 13. But it wasn't until maybe my early 20s that I really thought, what if I try to make this my career, and really go and try to do that. And so it's been that way, since.
Yeah.
Music became my career.
Yeah, I'm about the same as Ilya, around junior high school, around 7th grade. I started
too.
playing.
That's
I had a
right.
couple of friends who played guitar, and then I had a guitar, and they were like, hey, we need someone to break this up, so why don't you play bass? So I started playing the electric bass, and then by the time I got to high school, I had a very good teacher, Prentice Pilot, who got me into playing acoustic bass, songs like So What and all this stuff, and told me I should go to university and so on and so forth. That's where I became who I am now. So
Wow. So you were inspired by a music teacher?
yeah, Prentice was
Yeah.
a great guy. He was affiliated with the Boston Symphony Orchestra. He was playing that and the Pops, and he was a really good teacher. He got me into jazz. He said, hey, you gotta keep pushing, play the big bass.
Good. And one last thing, the moment I picked up the horn, I knew that was my destiny. And I know that sounds crazy, but my dad always made a prayer at supper, may we all find our vocations in life. Often people don't know what they want to do. The moment I picked this up, and when I was 11, that was my best birthday ever, because I got a kitten, my own horn, finally.
Wow.
My dad sprung for a beautiful silver Getzen, which was a lot of money back then in the 20s. I got a kitten and I got a trumpet, and from then on, there was no stopping me. So anyway, there you go, man.
Oh, I should have left out Marian Topper too, who was another one of the teachers.
Yeah, so you
Remember
were inspired.
Marian?
No.
She had the Jazz Tree
Mm-mm.
booking, and she had Ray Brown.
No, but
Ron
music
Carter and all
teachers
that.
are really important. They are. Mr. Ciricello in 3rd grade impressed me for life. And that's why in America, music is so important. They've gotten rid of a lot of it in the schools. And it's urgent that it comes on back, because I tell you, it's kept all of us out of prison. I'm just kidding.
Nothing could be farther from the truth.
So with that,
Especially Nick.
Oh, Lord.
With
Mild
that-
mannered.
with that in
Watch
mind,
out for the mild
Go ahead,
mannered.
you guys.
do you have any advice for young musicians?
All right, Nick, you go first. So I can take a nap.
Besides staying
Okay.
out of
So I can
prison.
take
Besides
Yeah.
staying at
No,
a
prison's good. You can practice all day.
And actually, that's what they, and they got a great
And you got
band.
nails free.
They got swinging bands in the prison band. Go ahead.
Well, I really believe it's important to listen. We're so used to book learning for everything. We think all our information is from a book, and there's a lot of information from a book, obviously, because people who provided that information have studied hard and wrote these books. But you can't discount for music listening, for language listening. You can't learn a language from a book, really. You can, but you have to still hear the nuances. So for a musician, it has to be a great deal of listening and study, a lot of study. And I think you have to be a certain kind of person, and maybe this translates to other fields too. The ability to stay by yourself for long periods of time, focused on something. Sometimes it's a beautiful day and you want to go outside and take advantage of the day. But when you're a musician, you're like, oh, I gotta practice today. I have to work on this. I think that kind of thing translates to anything you want to pursue in life. The discipline to just focus on something and work at it. But for music specifically, a lot of listening and also a lot of study, which is through the books and materials that are written too. But listening is very important.
Any other questions?
Oh, yeah, I actually, I have a particular seminar that I teach about the 3 or 4 Ds of music, which is exactly what Nick said. Discipline, number 1, determination, desire. There was something else, I can't remember it at this moment. But the point is desire, meaning you must love it beyond all else, because the disappointments, the roadblocks, the
Poverty.
yeah, you must take a vow of poverty like a monk and make this music your church. Discipline, determination. Oh, discipline, determination, desire, and drive. You cannot be taken off of this road. You must be focused, like Nick said, laser focused. And there's a lot of things that will get in your way. You must have the hide of an alligator, so that people will try to talk a lot of negativity. It has to just come off of you. And then you have to have the heart of a lion. You must continue to persevere. And so I tell people, music, the life of a musician is not for the faint-hearted. It is not for the weak. Because, right? You have to continue on. That is my theory, and here I am.
All right. Well,
I'm a band leader, so you know.
yeah, I want to, for musicians, I think it's interesting. Musicians are like people in the sense that the cross section, there's so many different personalities in music and different stories. Every musician is a different story. We live very different lives from our predecessors in this music, especially. Jazz was once a very popular music for someone, and I would say, you can't say, and the word musician is really too general of a term, because a classical musician is one life. A popular musician, someone who wants to be a popular artist, that's a very different personality. And a jazz musician is a whole nother personality. A very,
And lifestyle.
Yeah, and it depends also on, again, are you a band leader? Are you a soloist? Are you a rhythm section player? Like different, for some musicians, like, interface with the public is crucial. Your love for culture, to be able to share music and to share our history, the things we know. That's one type. Another type is just me, like an artist, like a new artist who's just a talented teen, 18-year-old who's just brimming over with talent. All they got to do is just let it pour out, basically, it seems like. I mean, I wouldn't know, but, and then there's, so I guess, well, like with everything, spirituality, I would say, stay with just look for the truth and look for peace. And I don't know, that's not really advice.
That's true. What brings you joy? What brings you happiness? This brings me pure happiness.
And to bow out at the right moment. A lot of great musicians, if it's not happening, it's not happening, but then other people, if we have a life, if you have a certain set of things, a lot of us don't have a choice. A lot of great musicians, I don't think I ever had a choice, really, since a very early age. This was what it was. This was the game. I had enough work to stay in it, and there wasn't some other opportunity that presented itself. And with the years, I got to say that my love for music and my love for the instrument has really only begun to truly blossom recently, like in the last several years, even though I've been playing for 25, 30 years, So, hey, for everybody.
I think I would be redundant.
Can I add something? There's a statement or an idea that we hear about often that I completely disagree with. And I don't know if you have the same concept here. Have a fallback plan.
Yeah, that's not good.
I don't believe in that.
Me neither.
I do not believe in having a fallback plan.
No.
Because if you have a fallback plan, you will you will take it if it gets difficult. So like if you're going to be a musician and all of a sudden it's or anything. Let's not say musician. Let's say anything. But maybe something that might be a difficult path. You have a desire to do something, but you say it's going to be a difficult path. If you have a fallback plan, once things get difficult, you're going to take that fallback. So my nephew went to college for computer science, and he came out and he got a job in the field of computer science, and he hated it, and he quit immediately. And my brother-in-law was upset. He paid all this money for schooling. He went into buying and selling homes, and that was his passion. It wasn't to be rich. He actually likes to buy and sell homes. And to take a home that's in poor shape and renovate it and present it to people. Anyway, I think he's probably a millionaire now. And it wasn't the money that was driving him. He's driven by the whole process. And so he agrees with me. He says, no fallback plan. You have to be focused, because otherwise you will take that fallback plan when times get difficult. So that's just me. I know Ilya differs on that, but it's just my idea,
I can tell you, for me, music found me. So if music finds you,
that's correct.
The rest is going to come into play.
Thank you,
I don't know.
Belton.
Everyone's a little different.
Nope.
Some people look to, okay, I'm going to make this a career. That's a whole nother kind of concept, I think, that I'm not familiar with.
That's right.
It finds you, you listen to it in your life, and it comes that way, then you just follow that road.
And it's tough to listen to it because everyone's telling you other things. You need to go to school. You need to make money. You got married. You got to support this person. Blah, 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 blah. Talk to the hand. Okay? Talk to the hand. So I'm not listening. And another thing, when he said, we all know music finds you. You know it. It's called your inner bell. I say, being a musician, you are born a musician. It's like red hair. It is genetic. It's in you. But some people, when they pass their childhood, have stuffed down their feelings. They've been taught culturally, societally, not to listen and to be something else. And that's not listening to your true self. And like Belton and all of us are saying, follow your truth and follow your passion. Okay?
Plus, music as a living is a whole nother thing than just.
It's a whole nother education.
I picked up an instrument as a hobby. It's like
that's a whole different
thing.
Area of advice.
Seminar, honey. Go
Yeah,
on.
Right.
So
So we don't have a lot of time.
Right.
So with that in mind, I know we have some questions, but we also would love to hear you play a little. So do you want to do I don't know how you, I'm leaving this in your very capable hands.
No, let's do Bye Bye Blackbird. I'm going to stand up because I got to play.
I'm going to play some drums.
Okay.
Hold on, I got to pull this down.
This is my mask. Hi, everybody. I'm getting a little close to the camera because I'm setting this here. Hi, I'm going to back up. Because we're in Uzbekistan, I don't want any, butt shots. Ready?
You're getting a lot of Americanisms today.
Come on, give the baseline song. Woo! Here we go.
I know we have some questions from the audience online, but do we have any questions in the audience here? Anyone have any questions? Please.
So, thank you for wonderful
Chair.
tours, and we enjoyed it. Who is your idol person in jazz?
Great question. Who is your idol?
Has to be one?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not really.
Top one.
doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like
No,
that.
it doesn't work like that.
So share more than one.
Clifford Brown, Dizzy Gillespie, Arturo Sandoval, Lee Morgan. Oh, yeah, Louis Armstrong. Oh, we gotta play that. And Louis Armstrong, most definitively, unequivocally. Okay, go ahead, Nick.
For drums, Max Roach, Art Blakey, Roy Haynes, Tony Williams, and Elvin Jones. But I'm very much inspired by other instrumentalists as well,
That's great.
singers
Thank
especially.
you.
We have another question if you,
Okay.
unless you want to.
Oh, you gotta get each of the guys quickly.
Okay, Duke Ellington, Charlie Mingus.
Guitar players, Charlie Christian, Grant Green, Wes Montgomery, George Benson.
Other questions?
We have one over there.
I have heard about the father of jazz is one of the black.
African American person. Is it right? And are you also inspired by those person?
Yes, it's called Louis Armstrong. They
We
call
didn't
him.
name one white person
No,
in the whole list.
they're
I don't
all
think-
black.
Did
Yeah,
you say
all
something? Yesterday
black.
you were talking about Gene
And,
Cooper.
and check this out, Mr. Louis Armstrong, whom
All
we just, yes, Louis Armstrong, they call him the father of jazz. That's right. We're gonna play something from him, absolutely, as soon as you're ready.
Which one is that?
And also, in the Black History Month, do you celebrate of his achievement as a musician, as a jazz?
In America, do we do that?
Every month is Black History Month.
That's
Yes.
correct. That's
I mean,
right. With our music, every month
They
we
carve
celebrate.
out February, but.
The shortest.
Yes, in February, the shortest month.
Exactly.
We also
Yes,
celebrate
that's
the
cool.
Black History Month in February in Uzbekistan.
Really?
Oh,
Really?
yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
God,
right
I know,
on.
man.
Did that include Africa or what was that? What was
The
that?
African American people and also Martin Luther King, I think also.
Oh,
Okay, so it was
American.
American Black
American.
History. It wasn't like.
And
Super.
also like Black History Month as well. We like talking about a lot of Black history, empowerment, human in the history of
Beautiful. Good
U.S.
for you. That sounds great.
Thank you.
As always,
All right.
Yeah,
We appreciate
wonderful.
that.
Hello.
You guys have been like traveling in different countries, and America is a great country with diversity.
Yes.
And in particular, jazz. Could we expand the jazz as a together, bringing communities together, and to east side, like Asia, China, like other countries? Could we do it through
What
jazz?
we are doing.
We've
it.
heard great. We played with local musicians
Oh
last
my
night.
God.
I played with the band, and the concert, and then afterwards at the club.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, jazz is
This morning.
incredible like that. It's
It's the same taste like people perceive like, or is it
Yeah.
a-
sometimes better.
Better. Yeah, when we go out of the country, it's so funny. Weren't we saying that get into the band bus? I say we're big stars out of the country, then you go home. So, and you know, you can't give it away. But the point is, in other countries, that's what I said last night, that jazz lives here as well. And as musical and jazz ambassadors, it's really amazing to see and very informative that we touch lives and that jazz has spread as far as it has.
Can I
Sure, go
interject?
ahead.
Historically, of course, I wasn't alive, none of us were alive, but what we're told is that jazz, the birthplace of jazz was New Orleans. And in New Orleans, you had many cultures. You had black culture, and then the brass bands, the instruments from Europe, Germany, and then you had the French opera and some of the ornamentation and the Spanish tinge, as Jelly Roll Morton named it. So the music
And
itself,
Native American.
Native American.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
so the music itself is kind of born from the idea of multicultures getting together and the idea of not one instrument is more important than the other, and which is sort of a freedom of speech in terms of music,
Yeah, it's true.
where it's just not there's a soloist and everybody's supporting that soloist. You heard Ginetta give her interpretation, and then you heard, and then we all did. We all, even Belden without the bass drummed on his lap, you know. And so the idea is to give freedom of speech through music. So we are always looking to take influences from different parts of the world and incorporate people's experiences in different cultures. It's what makes the music continue and grow.
That's right.
Yeah, like the times when communities came together, there's always like novelty, like new thing appears.
Yes, we all come together and it's
Yeah.
always a different thing, which is great. That's a beautiful thing. We need to answer something up here, which
Yes.
is a great question.
The one about what do you love in Uzbekistan?
Oh,
That
no, I was gonna say what's more important, passion or
That one's a great
technique?
one too.
Yeah,
You
it's
want
a
to do
great-
that one first?
Passion
Two
or-
sides of the same coin. I
Yes.
think.
What
Well,
is
we
more
sort of
important?
answered that in our
You
quest
did.
for great musicians.
To
So
get great technique, you usually need a lot of passion
Perfect.
to drive the
that's very
quest for
succinct.
technique. You
Thank
can't
you.
really have one.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question from the audience.
Yes.
Just a reminder, we're
It's a good
here.
question.
live.
I
Okay,
like that
what did
question.
we love about Uzbekistan?
Yeah, I was going to say, what are your impressions of Uzbekistan so far? What do you
What did
love? in
I love the
Uzbekistan?
weather. I love the heat. I also love the fact that dozens of women I've seen have long hair. I love the fact that long hair is still in. You don't see any long hair in America. I love that. And I love the hospitality. Okay,
Gentlemen.
go ahead.
I love the people. I think the
Mhm.
people is the warmest, most friendly I've known a lot of Uzbek people outside of here, so it was a great honor to come here. It's selfish because I speak Russian. I like the fact that y'all speak really good Russian.
Exactly.
So that was nice, but just the people, the music too, the singing.
Yeah,
We
singing.
got to that type of singing. I've never been so close to it, and it's like,
Right.
Yeah.
it really hits me very hard. So
That's what Nick said.
I feel a lot of warmth from the people. I mean, in the short period of time we've been here, we've only been here a couple of days. It's been a pleasure.
To be honest, I didn't know much about Uzbekistan before coming.
Of course.
And I went to an
Don't even say that.
I went to an Uzbekistan restaurant last week to try to taste,
Plov. It's
sample
called
the
plov.
food.
Plov.
Plov.
We loved it.
And the owner was from Uzbekistan. I'm not sure where.
Oh, last week in
Oh,
America.
Yeah, in America, just to try to acquaint myself with some of the cuisine and ask questions, But I didn't have much, I didn't know much, but I have to say, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, the people are wonderful here. We feel that there's such a warmth and it's so friendly. And I've been calling my family at home and telling them, each night, you gotta see the people. So that's the thing that touches me most. And earlier today, we also went to
Center for Impaired Youth.
the Center for Impaired Youth and heard some work with, dealt with the people, and some were musicians and singers and the singing from the heart that we experienced. I was almost crying, which is unusual for me while playing,
Yeah.
But it's been a beautiful experience for me, one that I think I will treasure for my whole life.
I love it. Wait, one last thing that I love, call me shallow, but I feel right at home here because everybody does this.
yeah.
And I do that a lot, especially during COVID. I don't like touching folks, you know what I mean? I'm a little nervous about germs. So when everyone did this at the school, we went to the school. That's another thing I love, all the music schools. I am so impressed. And I just love that because I've been doing this for years when I'm on stage. I always do that. So it's like I found my tribe, So
I want to say the spirituality. I could really
Yeah.
feel the spiritual presence.
Exactly.
I love the fact that hello is salam alaikum. That's
Yes.
beautiful. That
it's
you can't
spiritual.
communicate at all without a spiritual element, and I can feel that here.
That's
I feel
right.
a certain peace
That's
here that's
beautiful,
very unique.
Ilya.
A wonderful question for you. Ilya, please tell us, did music, specifically jazz, help you to learn English?
Not English because I was 3 years old when we came. So I mean, music possibly to learn English in the big sense of the word, to learn really
Idiomatic
idiomatic English
jazz.
and what it really
Slang.
means and how yes, definitely jazz is a linguistic music. And I was going to say earlier when you talked about with the importance of jazz or like the international aspect, jazz imitates communication, spontaneous. It actually imitates language more than any other style of music. So certainly my understanding of English and jazz are, I mean, like I said, I was 3. When I was 3, I didn't know anything about jazz yet.
I have something to say you. And have you ever heard about jazz chants? This is jazz is not just a genre of music, and I'm also English teacher, but I have one technique for maybe teaching students jazz chants. It can help the students communicate friendly. This is also
that sounds
one
cool.
thing, yeah.
Interesting,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna Google it.
It's a saxophone player named Carolyn Graham created them. They're used kind of like poems, but are used to teach English.
Oh,
Are commonly,
beautiful.
they're widely published.
Well, thank
Okay.
you. That
Jazz
sounds great.
Say-
Thank you,
Say it again one more time.
Carolyn Graham.
Jazz chants.
I believe her name is
Yes.
Carolyn Graham.
I
Check
got
my
it.
memory.
All right.
Okay. What
Do we
else?
have other questions?
She
from
said
the audience?
hobbies outside of
Oh,
music.
yes, I like that question. Do you have any
Hobbies.
hobbies?
We'll get right to you. Just hold on a second.
For me, really, there is no other hobby. But maybe if I had to reach, it would be photography.
My hobby, I am a runner. I jog. I love to jog. I'm a fitness enthusiast. So the way that I relax, loosen up my voice and my chops is running. I also get to sightsee as I run. That's my version of sightseeing when I travel. And I also love to read. And then after a gig, what do? I love me some TV, boy. Late at
Is that a
night.
hobby?
Yeah,
watching
but guess
TV?
what? I don't do that in the daytime or when it's light out. I like it when I'm done with all my work. That's my version of a martini because I don't drink or do any drugs. I'm very strict about my health, and I'm also a health enthusiast. So that's another hobby to pursue health and that approach. But I do love American television, specifically The Nanny, which is ridiculous. I mean, really? I mean, she's ridiculous, but I love it. It relaxes
Fran
me.
Drescher?
Yeah, I love her.
I think you're learning a lot about each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah, we're learning about,
Session.
right. We're learning more about each other. Yeah, right. Totally.
I love silly
I got
TV.
nothing.
Go ahead, Eddie. What's your hobby?
I got kids. I got 2 teenagers. That's my hobby. They really like just hanging out with them. My son, my daughter's an artist, so she puts me on to all her thing. They're in a different this generation. My hobby is just current events, with them and with my son. He's got his thing. I don't play video games, but he likes video games and anime and all that. So my hobby is really learning, I would say, in general, just education.
My hobby is more like getting into fitness too, like Ginetta. I play my kids too, basketball with my youngest son. He runs me amok with that. And, that's hard to do when you're getting older, but I try to hang in there. But technology a bit too. I try to get into it and learn more about the new technology.
I have a question.
Wait, one last thing. I love reading. I read 3 or 4 books a week, y'all. So I mean, during the day when I travel, yeah, I read voraciously. Go ahead, kiddo.
What kind of you entered to the jazz? Who get who will get motivated to you to the jazz as music?
Ask him a question.
Yeah, like who
Yeah, anybody might-
who introduced you?
Get
Who introduced you to jazz?
motivated
You
to the
to play
jazz?
jazz.
Oh yeah, we spoke about that. Our teachers, remember?
My brother, I didn't have a teacher. For
I
me,
had a
it was like
teacher.
my brother
And my dad.
I just got sick of rock music and pop music, and I was a classical musician, but that was too strict. Rock was just too dumb and everything. So, and I liked the diversity. Honestly, like once I got into the social aspect of jazz, and then I realized that it's this unlimited kind of thing. But that's what lured me into it. But my
Yeah,
brother
that's a good
did.
question. Thank
And
you.
usually it kind of comes from the home too, but like
Right.
in my house, my brother used to listen to a lot of Miles Davis, and my sister listened to Jimmy Smith and Wes Montgomery and all that. So you kind of, if you hear it a lot, you start to gravitate toward that thing, and that's what got me into playing it eventually.
My
But you
dad.
have to have some experience with it.
I'm sorry to
Go
interrupt
ahead.
you, Bill.
You good?
Okay.
Don't worry, the
My
nanny's
pop-
on soon.
I know, right? The nanny's on. My dad is 98. He's listened to every kind of jazz, and when I was a kid, he would always call me down. Oh, Dizzy Gillespie's on. Oh, Clark Terry's on. Louis Armstrong's on TV, and I'd have to run down, because it would be in the evening, and he would make me watch. And he paid for my trumpet lessons and would drive me all the way to Jersey with Ted Curson. I took lessons with him years ago, so I'd have to say Pop. Anyway, I'm sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you, B.
For me, it was my mother who sang all day long and played this music, not necessarily 100% jazz, but the same repertoire, the same tunes, done in maybe a less improvisational form, but the same material. I grew up listening to that. And I should mention on American TV, a lot of the talk shows, the variety shows, they used to have jazz musicians. So you would watch television, and then the band was a jazz band. And I used to practice. The TV was on, and when the band came on, I would practice along with the band. I would eat my supper. I would bring my plate of food on the drum and eat until it was time to play. But it's true. But my mother, and I think most of us have children. Like I have 3 children. My youngest son is a flute player, but into anime, and animation, and he also orchestrates. My middle daughter has a career as a musician since 10. She's 20 now, but she's very well known and as a jazz pianist. And my oldest daughter is an opera singer, and she's going to be performing in Germany this summer. And so we kind of pass the passion along. My wife is an engineer.
My parents were not.
My wife is works for Johnson & Johnson as a director. She's an engineer, and she's saying, "Where's my engineers? Where are my children? Where are my engineers? They're all turning into musicians." But I don't know.
So I know you want to play again, and we're getting short on time. So this one on the bottom here, I would love if you could organize jazz concerts in underground community. Is it possible? You might have to improvise a little bit.
Yeah, our numbers are available. We work.
Yeah.
We will work. Get us
Okay.
a
What does
gig,
that mean,
right?
underground?
I don't
Whatever,
know.
right? That's like.
Well, we're here till Tuesday morning.
Oh, we'll
so-
come back, right?
Mhm,
Whatever.
we'll come
You work
back.
it out. Yeah. If you know any oligarchs, we're really down with underground oligarchs.
That's right.
Like,
That those rich Russians that have fled.
So,
it is possible.
Yeah, so yeah, we're open to that underground community.
and then earlier when a student asked who the best jazz musician was, you said it doesn't work that way. Can you please explain why you each named several
Because
musicians?
just the plural, the
Yeah.
musicians, it's not one. Because the question was one. Is there one
Right.
best? There's too many. It's
Right,
like
that's
it's like writers. You're not gonna boil it all down to one writer or anything.
or movie or anything.
No, there are several, and they change throughout your career.
Yeah, and they
One-
change your influence. One
That's
month you could
correct.
listen to
One month
one.
you listen. So when I was a kid, all I listened to was Ella, and then all I listened to was Louis Perico Ortiz, who was a Latin trumpeter of
Yeah.
massive
Yeah,
proportions.
there's-
Then all it was Arturo, then it was Dizzy, then it was Clifford, then it was Miles. I came to Miles very late in my career,
Mhm.
even though some people have called me the pocket Miles because I have that kind of cool sound, which is interesting, but I never listened to him growing up. My first guy was Clifford with that big fat round tone. So it moves and changes as you grow and learn.
The reason why jazz exists as a great thing is because there's thousands of great musicians, and I'm influenced by these musicians. I've influenced. My life is the reason I live in New York and go through that hard life in New York is for the sake of the musicians who I know and get to play with. So
That's
they're
right.
all my influence. I might be influenced by some 22-year-old that will play, and I'll be like, oh boy. And that day, he might be my favorite musician.
Right,
You know?
right. That's why I kind of said Duke Ellington. I mean, we have our own, for our instruments, we have people like Ron Carter, but it's the whole gamut.
Would you like to play again? I think you mentioned Louis
Well, I
Armstrong.
did mention Louis
yeah, yes,
Armstrong.
yeah, all right.
We did have to give, well,
It's a
in
favorite.
America, we say something about
You
giving
do.
props.
If you proper respect.
Yeah,
Yes,
respect.
props, proper respect.
What a wonderful,
Is it an S?
whatever. You
Just a
play
reminder,
whatever
we're
you
coming
play.
to you live from the ACT.
You want to sing the bridge?
Color of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky and on all the faces of the people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you.
You played that before together.
What?
No, like,
That was awesome.
And when musicians, we always sit in with each other. And my partner, he's a guy, in case anyone cares, because when I say partner, people
Yeah.
think things. He always says, Ginetta, I'm always, well, you know, people might want to know about me. And he always says, Ginetta, I'm so amazed whenever you sit in. It's like you guys practice all day long, but that's how great musicians are. Like Ilya went to the club last night and sat in with Mr. Saeed Morat. Hi, Saeed. And it sounded like Ilya had been with the band for the rest of, you know, for a year or so. But that's just how it is with professionals. And that's also one of the excitements and adventures and happiness of jazz. Wherever we go, we can just kind of have
We
fun.
know the repertoire. We have
Yeah.
a common,
Yeah, we have a common book.
rather
Common
large
book.
repertoire.
That's right. It's almost it's almost like our Bible of standards.
Thank you. We have another interesting question. Do you think there's a reason that jazz flourished in the 1930s and 40s?
These people are
It's a loaded question.
Really?
Yeah.
Man.
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Because jazz was the popular music at that time.
Mm.
It
Yeah,
was the
but why?
It
dance
was the
music.
popular
I have my
music.
theories.
But it's interesting. Yeah.
I don't know. I thought about mystical connection. You know, when they're hard time. No, when hard times fall. Like I know when
It
my
was
people
the
just went into.
depression.
But like right now, since February, my family's been crushed by this war situation. I don't get to go back to Russia. I'm not going back to Russia anytime soon. And it's a real, you know, I have family. My father grew up in Odessa, so I'm part, like, you know, half Ukrainian at least. But that I've been practicing so much since February because I don't know what else to do. It's like
Exactly.
my life is gone, so many things. So I think maybe the war had a lot to do with it. And I think just a lot of the things that were going on forced people into extreme, you know, when you just have to. Sometimes music is your only way out.
That's your only solace.
And I think
That's
that
right.
period,
That's
the
right.
period, if I recall correctly,
1929
there was
is
some
when
things
everything
going on.
crashed.
You had the
Listen,
Depression.
The Depression started 1929. Folks were desperate for entertainment or for escape, and that is what.
And
our
then the
music
war
is.
that, you know, there was a lot of,
Yeah, 1945.
there was a lot of panic and
Yep.
great. That was, I mean, an unspeakable level of tragedy. Also, the level of education, I think we could owe something to that people in general, you know, they didn't have lead poisoning and stuff back then. People's intelligence was very high, you know, and, or maybe they did already. But anyways, music in general, musical training, because television and the media hadn't really taken over. So people were still learning music in the household, like piano and basic music literacy, plus those things, I think.
That's a good thing because everyone had a piano back in the day. In the Victorian era, I don't know if anyone knows this about America. A piano was a part of your living room.
Yes.
Piano. So music.
In Europe as well.
Yeah, in Europe as well. And so musical soirees in the home were commonplace. That's a good way to put it.
And then
musical
the dance
literacy.
thing, but people were still dancing again with that television. People stopped, but back then the athletic, I think people wanted to go out and dance too, maybe. I don't know.
I think that's
And it was dance music. In the 30s and 40s, jazz was dance music, by the way, which it changed later, became more of a
I think they're telling us we got to cut it off.
That's the pop
If you have a
music
few
of
more
that time.
minutes, we you know, we started a little late, if you don't mind.
Sure, whatever
joining
they
for
say, we got a few more minutes. But I agree with Ilya because the 30s, 1929, I'm not sure if you know about American history, the Depression came and things were very, very tough. And also what flourished in the 30s and the 40s was Hollywood. Why? Those are their greatest years. They call 1939 Hollywood's golden years because people needed escape. And if they could scrape together 5 cents, my dad still talks about it. His dad would give him like 50 cents. My dad is 98. He had me very late, just so you know. Listen, he always says that him and his brother for 50 cents could go to the movies and then buy 2 hot dogs on the way home. Okay. And it was escape. It was serious escape. That's why it flourished.
Yeah, I think I agree with all that. And then the music of that era was swing, right? Swing music, which is a joyful beat.
dance.
Jazz got more introspective following this period, and I was probably following World War II, and
Mhm.
reasons for that, but it became much more introspective
That's a good
and
point.
less inclined to be presented for
Mhm.
dancing.
You're
But
right.
during this period, the music is more lighthearted. It's not so introspective, really, at least not on the surface.
Oh.
And so there has to be a joyful beat, which is called swing. We call it swing. It's a joyful beat.
I think there's another question in the back.
Did you want to add anything to that, B?
Not really. I mean, like I started to say, it was the pop music of that time,
Right.
and it was the dance music that my parents danced to, and there wasn't a lot of other influences. So that's a lot of things that fed into that. I mean, look at in the 50s and then in the 60s where rock and roll and other things came in, things changed a lot. I mean,
That
the
was
real
the
the
time.
real tip of it is, jazz nowadays is not as popular as this one. That's the reality of it. But back in those days, that was the music, and that was what was on radio most of the time, and it flourished. Now it's, we're trying to keep it going, carry the torch.
That's right.
But
That's right.
there's much more, just like media and everything. There's so much more of every other thing. It's hard to center in on one thing like that. But it's never been really the pop music
Since
like
then.
it was in those times.
That's correct. Thank you, Belton.
Hello. When I started in college, my professor used to say like, it's not like this whole instrument, and I thought that like, how long it will take, like especially like me person, I have never played any kind of musical instrument. How long it will take to play some good music?
10,000 hours.
Well,
Yeah, that's what they say. That's how you become a professional.
That's virtuoso.
No, that's just to be.
You can enjoy music quickly if you have a good teacher,
That's right.
someone who can show you some of the basics. You can enjoy it rather quickly. Probably within the first couple of weeks, you'll get some
Mhm.
enjoyment.
That's right.
Learn a song, learn an instrument, like
Everybody's different,
You
You
can
might
learn to
have some
sing.
osmosis there.
you should
going
try
on.
to sing. Can you sing a little bit?
No, actually, because I prefer to listen to music, especially jazz and all folk music. Right now I thought like, how long it would take to learn some music instrument?
If you start, like Nick said, you start by listening. Like if you have a song that you like, try to imitate the melody. Try to just sing the melody of the song. That's already practicing music.
Yeah, you're right. Singing along to the music on the radio.
But you have to pick a song you like, that moves you, that
That's
makes
right.
you, inspires you.
What Ginetta said, the 10,000 hours, is there was a study done, and somebody interviewed, they sampled different musicians, like people of extreme virtuosic ability, and some people that had lesser ability, and some really still good musicians, but maybe not virtuosos, and some musicians that were basic level. And the only difference the person found after all this was that the virtuosos put in 10,000 hours. It was a matter of time. That was the conclusion. Maybe that's true. I don't know, but I do know that there are some people that will be at music for a very long time, and they might not get much results for whatever reason. And there are some people that will be with music for a very short time and get
That's right,
tremendous
like your
results
daughter.
fast.
Yeah.
So it varies from the person to person. You don't know where you stand. It might just click. Things for me clicked at different times of my life, too. Understanding and I played piano a little bit at first. I didn't know, and then all of a sudden I was playing piano, and I don't know really how that came, but sometimes things click a little bit.
Do you still learn from outside, maybe kind of some techniques from maybe Europe, maybe Asia?
Yeah,
Jazz?
always.
Yes.
Of course, that's what Ilya said. He learns every day. We all learn every day.
I was listening
playing.
today. We played with that singer from last night. What's her name? Oh, what's her name?
Zadrina, I
No, it's
forget.
no. But yeah, I'm listening as a vocalist. I'm listening very intently to her technique. I think every time something inspires you, every time you're moved by something, you learn something from it, no matter where it's from.
You never stop learning
For
in
me.
jazz. Never stop learning.
Never skip
And that 10,000 hours isn't about me. Mine's more like 50, 60, 70,000 hours.
Right.
And that's just to show up to work in,
And you don't want to book a room near Ilya in the hotel because you'll never get any sleep. Ilya doesn't sleep. I remember when we
You were on the bus.
No, we were on the bus. We were in Moscow or no, we were way out somewhere, and you used Sakalinks or something, and I was dead tired, and they put me right near Ilya. I'm like, what? I had to call his room. If you don't stop right.
I have to answer your
So
question.
70 or 80,000 hours.
You go down?
I'm sorry.
You lost the, oh, I
Yeah,
thought.
no, we're fine.
So I have one of my daughters, the one I mentioned earlier, that's been a professional musician since 10. She's a fantastic pianist, and she does unbelievable
It's
things.
natural. Yeah.
She hardly ever practiced.
Mhm.
She lies in bed, almost entirely lies in bed. She has asthma, trouble breathing. And so she spends a lot of her time in bed, and she listens with headphones incessantly. She just listens and listens and listens. And then she goes to the piano and she plays, but it's almost without practice. It's almost as if it's
a
there.
gift. It's a
That's what I
gift.
was saying.
And-
That's called like a savant.
And but she does practice now. She's older and she has techniques, and people are showing her things, and she has to work them out now that she's older. But I do know that everybody's different as far as the amount of hours it takes. I wouldn't let that discourage you. I'll just say one thing quickly. As a child, when we're children, and somebody presents us with mathematics, we don't say, "This is hard. How am I ever going to learn calculus?" We just do the assignment. We do 25 assignments. We turn it into the teacher. But as adults, we get an assignment. We say, we try to learn something new. And we say, how can I do this? It would take so long to achieve something because you know the path. So I tend to think of myself as a child when I'm learning something new. Just small assignments and just without overthinking it.
That's a good advice.
You know?
Yeah.
Otherwise you get overwhelmed,
One step at a time. That's right. One step at a time, baby.
So, go ahead.
I was going to say, in these heels, one very tiny
Very,
step.
very, yes, be careful. So we have another question from the audience. You have done a few master classes with music students in Uzbekistan. What are the main tips you can give them, the students, about technique?
Depends on the instrument, probably, right? Is there an instrument? Who asked the question?
I know that comes from the online audience.
Oh.
I don't know which.
Depends what, right? All instruments are different.
Different. I can't.
Yeah.
Technique's a thing.
Totally different.
Vocals is one thing for me. I have two different worlds. I have a vocal technique world, guitar, very different.
Trumpet, very difficult. The most difficult instrument in the musical world. Drummers can sit. Trumpet incorporates your stomach, your back, your diaphragm,
You only have to
breathing.
play one note at a time.
No, your hands, your chops, the most important part. Your back, your legs, you got to be strong, your lungs. It incorporates every part of your body.
Yeah.
I got to tell you. Do you agree with that, Belson?
Yeah.
I mean,
it depends on what instrument.
what about
You're
bass?
talking
How
about-
difficult?
If you're just talking about theoretical, you're talking about learning the scales and different.
No, I'm
things
talking
like
about
that. But
physical.
for
With
Physical.
bass, it's endurance,
Yeah.
focus.
rudiments, yeah,
It's
it's
different.
definitely, it's endurance. It's a whole nother thing from electric bass to
Mhm.
acoustic bass.
And guitar, there's so many different types of guitar, like classical guitar and jazz guitar and rock guitar. Those are like three completely different instruments.
And you're right. Trumpet only plays one note at a time. How are drums though, Nick? Don't you incorporate every part of your body?
Yeah, you have to work on independence exercises.
And your feet too,
You know,
right?
one thing is doing like, let's say this was going,
Depends on
practice
the instrument.
Except he likes to put his plate.
put my,
I didn't know
put
that.
my food on. No,
Yeah, they got to be more specific to get any actual tips.
Yeah,
I
you
would
gotta be
say,
more
I would
specific.
say a tip though, a general concept I would say is no matter what instrument you're playing in a group, that the group should learn to play quieter.
Oh. The
Yeah.
dynamics. Oh, that's another.
Because everything is
thing.
always, everything we when we go to do a lot of times in master classes, everyone's playing full volume 100% of the time. We're thinking there's more, sometimes you can whisper and make a point, make an effect. So there should be dynamics, and then you can also hear the person clearly too if you're playing a little quieter.
Yeah, dynamics
React.
are very
Just like conversation.
Pipe down.
It's just
That's
like
the tip.
conversation.
Pipe it down, Noel, pipe it down. turn those speakers down.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
need to hear each other.
yeah. It's just like conversation. You don't want to speak, everyone's speaking loud over each other, you know? So if you can just cool it, that's.
So I want to give a little public service announcement before we take a couple more questions, and I don't want to, we've taken a lot of your time, so thank you very much.
Thank you,
Again, we're live from the ACT here at the U.S. Embassy in Tashkent. We are on Facebook, both the Embassy's Facebook and the ACT's Facebook and the ACT's YouTube channel. We are open weekdays. The ACT is open weekdays. You do need to register in advance. Please follow us on our social media. That's U.S. Embassy Tashkent and ACT, American Center Tashkent, where you can find out about our upcoming activities and you can also register. Again, this is a really special opportunity. It's incredible to have you here. I think there might be another question from the audience. Someone who hasn't asked a question before.
Hello, and I know that your band's name is Ginetta's Vendetta, yes? So could you tell about the history? What does it mean? So, and this is my first. Second question is we know that we always need partners and sponsors in sport and music. So could you tell about this aspect also?
Oh yeah, I need a
Great
sponsor
question.
too.
Great question. I was going to ask the why
Real
Vendetta.
Ginetta, 'cause I'm a hustler. That's my bailiwick, y'all. I'm gonna stand up for this.
Someone had a good interpretation yesterday.
Okay, what did they say?
They said it was like a woman thing, that your vendetta is that all band leaders are men.
Male, that's a
And
great.
Vendetta.
That was a wonderful thing for, and he was quite astute, which was pretty smart. He said my vendetta was against all male band leaders, but believe it or not, I had no vendetta at all, even though I'm Italian. I had a very dear friend, and I always give him the credit for this. Eric Oxendine, who used to play bass with Jimi Hendrix, was my neighbor 30 years ago in Manhattan, and he came up with the name. And the funny thing is, he's Native American, and I always thought it was much like a naming ceremony. Native Americans, when you get to a certain age, they give you a different name than you're born with. And so when Eric gave me that name, I was like, I'm sort of being anointed. It was very cool. And so Eric Oxendine gave me the name because he thought it sounded cool, and then I thought it sounded cool. And that's what I said. And then in one of my first interviews, many years later, after giving him credit, I also said it was against the music industry, but I don't feel that way. I feel I have no ill will toward anyone. And, you know, you learn when you're younger what not to say. As you age or as you grow more wise, you never want to alienate people. So Ginetta's Vendetta was just a cool name. But let me just say this. Guys know I have a personality that you always pay the band or else. That's all I'm going to say. My guys always get paid. So Ginetta's Vendetta, the name serves me well. How's that?
Straight. Yeah, I guess it's.
Woohoo!
Yeah, sponsor though.
Oh, the sponsorship. So you have to steady hustle to get sponsorship. So my job as a band leader is not only practicing and vocalizing, but doing a lot of emails and hustling as far as reaching out to people and let them know about us so that they will respond in kind with offers and gigs and tours and festivals. So it's a full-time job. My musical part is not just practicing, but also doing the business side, which is reaching out via phone, email, and also going in person, what I call drive-bys. You know, I travel around New York City on a bicycle, and so I often tell club owners, my boyfriend he starts laughing hysterically whenever I say, I'm going to do a drive-by. And he's like, oh, that poor club owner, man. Because I will hound people relentlessly. And I always tell them, it's a lot easier if you just give me a gig. I will leave you alone. So in other words, to get a sponsor, you have to kind of stalk folks. Does that simplify it? How do you say that word in Russian? Stop somebody. You have to, yeah, you gotta relentlessly continue to follow
Don't take
up.
no for an answer.
That's right, thank you. Don't take no for an answer, ever. That's it. That's how you get sponsors.
Additional thoughts on that?
I think Ginetta covered. I mean, I've been more of a consummate side man, so I
Yeah.
really can't
Yeah.
speak on that. Yep.
I was waiting to, I was
Yeah.
listening to the
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
But he knows too, he's a
Nah,
man.
but I have a hard time. I'm not, I work more as a sideman, even though I am a band leader.
He's a
And
band leader.
while I had some good contacts in Russia, I had good sponsors. That's not going to be happening. So I'm going to be asking that question a lot.
Don't take no for an answer. And here's one of my classic phrases that I've said to people for many years. Don't tell me what I can't do. Tell me what I can do, okay? Not what I can't do. Because I've had promoters who want to tell me stuff. What can we do to make this happen? Not what the problem is. What is the solution, okay? I've gotten out of countries that have closed borders on us and taken my guys with us. I have adventures that are unparalleled. What is the solution? There you go, okay?
Thank you.
Now, hopefully we won't have that problem at the Turkish border because we're stopping in Istanbul for a minute. It's okay, it's just a joke, honey. We'll be all right.
That'll be fine.
Look at her face.
Thank you so much. This is such a special Chai Chat.
It was
Thank you
nice.
to our live audience, our online audience. Thank you to everyone for joining us this afternoon. Again, Ginetta's
Such a
Vendetta.
thrill, Sarah.
Such a thrill for us. Absolutely amazing. Really special Chai Chat. And thank you for being here at the U.S. Embassy. Thank you for all you do.
It's really an honor.
Thank you so much. I don't know if you want to take us out with a couple more
Okay,
bars
thank you.
or.
Whatever you guys want. I'm just gonna.
Oh,
Okay,
Be glad.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Nice job, guys. Is the camera off? Camera off?
That's a wrap. Thank you.